Good morning, friends. Welcome to Word of God at dawn. And you can see me, isn't that special? And I'd like to do a fairly quick capsule report on the retrieval work going on in Papua New Guinea, where there's been a massive landslide, I believe a day or two ago, which I read about yesterday. And we've talked about mass retrievals before in the series on retrievals, and this one was quite similar to all the others I've made a small contribution to. So let me say that the work was going on before I got there and after I left. And this morning I made a conscious effort to encompass some of the activities so that you would hear about it. And I'm pretty certain that part of me, some aspect of me is there still. And this again is not uncommon. Once you learn to bilocate and do the work, you can just keep on going. Although, as you can see, one's normal life has to go on. So this morning, or a couple of hours ago, I meditated on this, moved into projection mode, and found myself in Papua New Guinea, which of course is the other side of the world, but that doesn't matter. You can project anywhere. And approach this tropical forested area where there'd been a landslide, and quite large, and covering quite a few acres, and was met by the sight of many globes of light buzzing about. And when there's a lot of us doing this, that tends to be how it looks. Although when you approach a globe of light, it will sometimes turn into a human being. And when I got there was much activity, but I sensed like lots of globes buzzing about, lots and lots. And I'd say even hundreds at this point. And I approached someone, an area where I thought there would be a direction available. And one of the first things that I heard in my meditation was, "Oh, thank goodness you're here. We're really swamped. We can use all the help we can get." And, this reminded me of when I'd meditated on it some hours yesterday, I think. I was told, yes, retrievers are needed. Get there as soon as you can. So then there was some more talk about the area being divided up into sectors, and this being wanted to. When I say a being, I mean a human body a human person out of his body, or her body. Doesn't really matter. And I was directed to a certain sector. They were trying to sort of divvy up people kind of evenly, rather than sort of having one area well served and another area not well served. So I kind of was moved to a certain area where there wasn't quite as many little orbs whipping around, and knew what to do and went right at it. So there was a number of experiences. You plunge into the muddy soil. You just look for something. You're an astral being in a physical soil, although it could also be the thought form of the physical soil by a dead being that thinks it's still in physical soil. I know that's complicated. It's a bit of both. So anyway, you plunge in. It's dark, moist, wet, gooey, and you grab what you. And first couple of people I grabbed were children. I got a child that was how shall I say, knocked out, and but still breathing, as far as I could tell. In these situations, sometimes the mouths and the lungs get filled with mud, right away, but not always. So little bubbles of space can be empty, as it were. And this child was, out of it, but not dead. So I grabbed the child, and although how one does this is hard to explain, because you're sort of grabbing the astral body, and but also the physical body. I know it sounds strange, but one is able to do this. And I took it to a reception center that looked like a hotel, handed it over to a medical worker, handed the child over, and it went right back. Back to the mud, and in again, found a young child again who was definitely dead, lungs compacted, crushed, and pulled out the astral body, which was still sort of hiding in the physical body, yanked it out, and pulled it away, and basically like holding, you're holding the astral thought form of a child, and much lighter than the physical, I might say. So you get was right back to the reception center, hand that child over, and go back. Then next thing I wanted was a youngish man hanging on to his son, I believe, and they were both dead. And pretty sure they were both dead. And you can always be in a coma, you don't really know for sure. But it felt like dead to me. And snatched the astral body of both of them, clinging to each other, like father and child, and took them to the astral plane reception center, and handed them over very quickly, without much fuss, as I might say, and back again. Then I found 2 women that had been running away from the mudslide and got trapped underneath it. Were they sisters? I don't know. They were certainly good pals. And they were a mess, in terror, I think, for some reason. I mean, some people get more into the terror of it all and the trauma than others do. It's not a value judgment. It's the way it goes. And with these 2 women, fully grown women, dead, astral bodies, but in, blank terror, not standing outside of their bodies, sort of inside the dead body, as it were. So I yank them out energetically and take them kind of nervous and shivering and, oh my goodness, what's gone wrong? And to the astral plane reception center. Hand them over, go back. So it goes on and on like this. And at a certain point, as I was doing more of this stuff, which happens very quickly, I tried to meditate, can believe it or not, on the state of the soil, the consciousness of the soil. What is it thinking about? Because I'm well aware, having done my some work with nature spirits, that everything's ensouled. Trees, soil, everything's ensouled, one way or another, either by little beings, like little fairies and elves or whatever, or more important, powerful beings like devas that hang over landscapes, like regal beings directing things. That's before the disaster. So I'm trying to get the soil consciousness is fairly low. It knows that it exists, and it knows that there's been great movement, and I'm not sure it knows why, but it likely rain and wind, and but it was just an interesting moment to try and embrace that level of consciousness, which was not dormant exactly, but not neutral either, but aware of itself, but not highly aware. Is that the best I can do? So just focusing on that for a few seconds, and I managed to get some response, and didn't try to contact the deva, the overlighting deva, which there is always one or two. They're perhaps directing any movement and rescue operations on the part of the smaller nature spirits that are doing what they're told to do. So back to the retrieval work, as I described before, more of the same, busy, busy, busy. And just felt that I was, doing my part. Lots of activity, not much interaction between the orbs. We're all terribly focused. And there you have it, a glimpse of what goes on at mass retrievals. So a little after this meditation, I departed consciously back to my rest here on the physical, knowing that I had left a functioning aspect of myself there to keep on going. And, the more you practice this kind of craft, obviously out of body at night, mostly when you're asleep, the better you get at it. So if you have any vague memories of doing such a thing when you wake in the morning, you probably are. And don't assume that you're not very good at it. You might be much more practiced than you suspect. And you don't have to be conscious of it, but it's interesting for you on your inner journey of spirit and growth to know that you can be doing this, and perhaps have been doing it for quite some time. The disasters of this world are often anticipated by the permanent residents of the astral plane that focus on rescue work. And they sometimes start retrieving. In fact, I was told some people were retrieving some souls, spirits, before the actual landslide happened, as it was happening, grabbing people out of their bodies. And then, those of us who are physical and sleeping or whatever, or meditating, are invited to come along at any point and to help out. So a great team effort there, and it goes on all the time. I had also read of more storms in the tornado area of the United States. 15-odd people killed one way and another. You can be sure they were taken care of, or people attempted to take care of them. I wasn't part of that. I have been in the past. And just to go through the daily news, and of course, Rafa. A good 40, 50 people, maybe even more, dead there. And but the rescue operations in Israel and Palestine are well organized at this point, have been going on for years. And, I touched on some situations there in previous reports, but be assured it's going on. And the same situations are encountered the world over. Although war can have its own psychic personality, its own vibration, although, quote-unquote natural disasters can be just as traumatic for those involved because they're so sudden. Anyway, whereas war is going on and, people are expecting things to happen, hoping that they won't. And it's all part of being on Earth and learning and learning and learning. And with that, I bid you farewell.